Right, good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel, The Average Golfer's Guide. If you're considering buying a new driver from the 2026 lineup, then this thing in front of me is probably on your hit list. It is the Quantum Max, more importantly, from Callaway. I already hit this ball earlier this morning, and this club rather, and there's some interesting results and some that might surprise you. Now, before we go and hit some balls, it's important to note there are 4 different driver heads that are available in this lineup from Callaway, and it's hugely important, perhaps more important than ever, that you choose the right one for your particular swing. And that's because of the weighting system. It's been changed significantly, and it's very much a concealed weighting system. I'm going to take a quick look inside because, this back end is a little bit different. Now, I'm going to review the Max product. The Max because I think it's the product that is pretty much aimed at the masses. And the first thing I noticed when you take this back end off is that you've got only 2 options. You've got a neutral or you've got a draw bias. So these 2 little weights inside are weighted differently. I think we've got 9 grams in this red and we've just got 1 gram of weight in the black. Now you switch these round, the heavier weight being favoured towards the kind of bias that you want the head to make. So you can either put it in the heel area of the club or close to the heel. That is in a draw bias, and you switch those 2 things around, those 2 weights around, and that will put you in what is the neutral position. And then this little end cap goes back over the top and we're back and we're ready to go. But the important thing is that this only offers 2 different options. So don't forget draw, bias or neutral, and you'll find other driver heads offer a fade or a neutral position. So hugely important that you get that bit right. I kind of like this concealed area. What I am surprised at is those weights are relatively low. So I'm interested to know how much difference there is when those are switched around. Don't forget, in previous driver heads, what we've seen, if we compared this to the K model from Ping, they've got 32 grams of weight situated at the back end of the club head that can be moved into a neutral, a draw or a fade bias. That seems a lot of weight. We've got a 9 gram weight in the back of here with only 1 option in terms of that adjustability. So I'm slightly confused already by that, but you really need to have a deep dive into the 4 heads that are available before you even think about hitting one of these things. And finally, before I do hit a golf ball, let's just have a look at the underneath in terms of shelf appeal. It's a bit of a change, and I think it's a more muted change in terms of that colour scheme. I've always associated Callaway with some bright colours. Last year's models were that very bold green. We've got a muted grey. It's something I've seen on sort of a lot of modern cars. It almost looks like a vinyl wrap. I kind of like it without loving it. It's okay. It looks as ever premium in terms of the finish. And then from the top side, stud at the ball, we've gone for this, it's a gloss crown. It's got this checkered look, and then we've got a matte grey finish that frames the ball nicely. Like I said, I think very much with looks, it's subjective. So I'll offer my opinion, like I said, but it can be very different to yours. And I'll go with like it, but don't love it. Anyway, that can all go out the window once we've hit the ball. The final thing I want to say is that I've not been custom fit for this driver, which is hugely important, as you know, and I will be going down to Callaway in the next few weeks to see if we can optimize performance. I'll hit a ball or 2 because I realise I've waffled on quite a bit, and then I'll talk to you about the club face, which is also a big change this year for Callaway. Seem to go left. Yeah, just left to centre, bit of cut. And that's a reasonable start. First of all, always this channel, Average Golfer's Guide. The whole point of this is to sort of provide reviews and club tests that are relative to you. Now, the first thing I mean by that is my club head speed there was 93.7. That's on the slower side for me. It's the first shot of the day, so, but that's reality. I hit that shot on the first tee. I've got a 222 carry. We've got a spin number of 2130, and we've got a smash factor of 1.46. What it says to me is that club has done okay without getting too excited about. We've got the face is the change, this Triforce face as they called it. It's titanium, I think it's poly mesh, and it's also, interestingly enough, carbon has made an appearance in that club face as well. Now the whole idea obviously is they talk about speed, they talk about forgiveness, they talk about all those other things that are said every single year. But ultimately, first shot of the day, it hasn't done anything too different than I would expect. Let's see if we can get any better than that. A bit more club head speed, I think, there. Yep, only a mile, well, almost 2 miles an hour. Right. First thing is, ball flight has remained quite consistent. That spin number, even though it's in italics on TrackMan, which means there's a slight calculation rather than an accurate measurement, is 1940. Now anything below 2000 revs, or for me perhaps even 2200 revs, is starting to nosedive a bit and get a little bit worrying. So that's a number that concerns me a bit. But again, 233 carry, 139, almost 140 ball speed off 95 mile an hour club head speed is more than impressive. As I gather my tears, they fly all over the place. I'd like to ask you a lot of questions, and that's, where are you at the moment in terms of, are you looking for a new driver? Obviously that's not something you buy every year. But if you are in the market, is this on the agenda? Is it something you're going to try? I found it really interesting. I think the noise around the release of the Quantum from Callaway has been fairly low, and I think it's been overshadowed by a number of other brands. I don't know why that is, and maybe I'm just not listening properly. But there hasn't been a great deal of shouting about this thing, which you would normally find from a brand. We managed to pick the ball speed up a tad. Yep, we have. So we've got a little bit more. And I say this every time I do a video, and I hope everybody is sort of grasping the fact everything is relative to how fast you swing the club. As we've swung the club a little bit faster, a 1 mile an hour increment each time, we've seen a rise in ball speed. It's just relative. But it is important that you see those increases. We'll have a look at where this comes out the club face shortly, because that's how I sort of measure forgiveness. But that set of numbers again is really decent. The only one that worries me is that spin number. And we've got a decent smash factor, so ball speed relative to club head speed, really good. 236 carry is right up the top end of where I'd like to be. I'm just concerned, like I said, as to why that spin rate is as low as it is. I think we've hit 3 balls on camera. I'll carry on hitting a few more rather than you get bored of just watching me whack down this driving range, and we'll see what happens in terms of consistency, because so far what we've seen, to be fair, has been pretty standard stuff. I swing it a bit faster, the ball speed increases, and we carry the ball a little bit further. Is there anything there that doesn't fit what we'd expect as being quite normal? Right, let's start with a screen that I don't often show because to me it's almost irrelevant, but there you go, that's what dispersion looked like. We've probably got 4 balls that are down the middle, and what have we got, 4 balls that leak to the right. Pretty much stay on the fairway on all of them, but that's what it looks like. And I think that these are probably better swings than these. They might have had alignment issues. There are so many things that go into where your ball finishes that I think has very little to do with the club in hand, to be quite honest with you. But there you go, some people want that information. Down below are the averages. 94.4 mile an hour, so it's not the quickest in terms of this morning. It's a Monday morning in January, and that's as fast as we can get right now. Ball speed almost 140, launch angle really like at 14.9, spin number again 2179, bordering on the bottom end, but we'll live with that. Then we've got a 230 carry, and the smash factor, which is always the relationship between these two, means at 1.48 there's a little bit more in there, but we're not doing too bad. Right, now this is the screen that I want to show you next, and that is impact location. What you're seeing there is we've pretty much found the center of the club face. So I'm not really, what I like to do is hit it a bit all over the show in an ideal world, because then we can test what I believe is forgiveness. But right now they came out pretty much the centre. I want to then move to the table itself and just look at some of these numbers, because there are some worrying numbers in there. There's a couple there with 1940, 1790, oh, and another one there, 1970. I'm reading out the spin number there, by the way, which are low. And I don't really understand how the match product, I understand why Callaway are trying to achieve a consistently, they don't want the ball to spin too much, but there's a concern with this setup that I've got right now that it's bordering on spinning too low. That would worry me a little bit. I then talked about clubhead speed. Everything is relative to clubhead speed. If you look at the second shot there of this earlier testing, we got clubhead speed to 97.4. I must have been getting a little bit excited. The worrying thing is with that is we didn't see anything relative in terms of that yardage carry. So largely because that launch dipped a little bit, but at 229 carry, that would be a little bit concerning. So my guess would be that 97 mile an hour, that was one of the shots that didn't find the centre of the club face. But then when we take a look at the club face, and obviously I've done this earlier before we got started, it was bang out of the middle. So at 97 mile an hour, bang out the middle, there's a slight concern there with the performance of that. And it's largely due to, like I said, and I always say the same thing, it launched too low and spun a little high. But again, there are a few differences or inconsistencies, one of them being launch and one of them being spin. So we've got two balls that launch at 12 and then we've got two at 17 degrees. So the one thing I found different or slightly worrying was the consistencies of the performance of the club face. Now that could do with a number of things, and like I said, we're going to give Callaway the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to get custom fit for this, and we're going to get the right shafting, because arguably this is a little bit light for what I would prefer, but that really doesn't explain why those numbers appeared the way they did, at least in my opinion anyway. But that's it. I try and keep these reviews simple and as straightforward. They're led by data. We'll get this thing out on the golf course. My overall opinion is this: it looks okay, it looks really well built, it's a quality piece of kit, but it doesn't get me overexcited. The performance seems potentially good, but again, it's got some slightly worrying elements. And the key message really that you'll get from this video for me is that if you're going to spend 500 plus on a driver this year, then for God's sake, make sure you get custom fit, because I've got a feeling when we go through that process, we'll get a damn sight better set of numbers than this, and you've got to ensure that you spend your money wisely. So please don't do anything without getting the right quantum driver in your hands to give yourself the best chance when you get out there on the fairways. Right, as ever, thank you for watching. I appreciate all the support. Hope you're now subscribing to this Average Golfer's Guide. Hit the like button, give me some feedback if you've tried it. That's what I would love to hear from you, see what your experiences are. And I'll see you all very soon. Thanks for watching.